big thank you to, oh, sorry, I'm just gonna hit the got it button for the recording here. Yeah, big thank you to Alice for giving us the opportunity to speak today a little bit about our program, which is Mission Monarch. And Mission Monarch, as you'll see in a few slides, is a community science program that is aimed at monarch conservation in Canada. So very happy to be here, and thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about monarchs and about this conservation program. All right, so in the next 20 minutes that we have together, I'll speak a little bit about our community science program, and I will also give you kind of a rough idea of how you can participate and how your farm or how your organization can take part in monarch and milkweed monitoring activities. So it's kind of going to be a lightning talk. I'm going to try and really give you a good overview of the program. But of course, if you have any questions afterward, or if you'd like to have a more in-depth training, we're always happy to do so. So to start us off, I want to talk a little bit about Mission Monarch and what it's about. So Mission Monarch is a community science program that's run by the Montreal Insectarium. And the goal of this community science program is to document the monarch's reproductive success. So we know that the monarch comes in our latitudes in Canada over the summer and reproduces, but we don't know exactly where those reproductive hotspots are located. So by having this community science program and accumulating data on monarchs and milkweed, we have, I think someone has their microphone on. So if you can just, perfect, thank you. Yeah, so the idea is that we invite folks and communities all across Canada to help us gather data around monarchs and milkweed to help us better understand where monarchs are breeding and what are some of the reproductive hotspots in Canada. So this is Mission Monarch is part of a Canada-wide research effort. So Mission Monarch started back in 2016, and we were mandated by Environment and Climate Change Canada to coordinate a monitoring program of monarchs and its host plant, milkweed, across Canada. So that's kind of what gave birth to Mission Monarch as it is now. What is community science? Some of you may or may not be familiar with what that means. So I just want to take a quick minute to explain what community science is. So community science essentially is when scientific work is conducted by non-professional volunteers. And it's really a great tool to help fill knowledge gaps. So in community science, the data collection process is accelerated, meaning that instead of having a handful of, for example, scientists collecting data, we have thousands of volunteers across Canada taking part of this effort. So helping us monitor across different regions, across different landscapes. So it really accelerates this process. And what's really neat, as you can see on the bar graph here, is that community science has become increasingly relevant to contemporary scientific research. As you can see in the graph, that shows the number of publications on community science. So there's really been a steep increase in the last few years, and the extent to which community science has been used demonstrates the pertinence of this research approach. So it's really neat, and Mission Monarch is a community science program that really kind of inserts itself in this momentum for community science. So how does that translate exactly for Mission Monarch? What does participation look like on our side? Well, Mission Monarch is a Canada-wide program. So we have just a little over 2,500 participants. And this is since we last tallied it in 2021. Now our season is starting off again this year, so the numbers will probably go up a bit more. And so that has translated into thousands of people reporting their observations on milkweed and on monarchs. So we really see the momentum and kind of the amount of data that we can accumulate in a short amount of time. And seeing this data presented differently, so in terms of year after year, how observers and number of observations have augmented, have increased over the past few years. So we can see that 2019 was really a great year for us in terms of observers and observations submitted. For reasons that we all know, 2020 and 2021 have been slight decrease because of the pandemic. So, but we're hoping that we'll be able to ramp up again this year for our observations and observers. So this is Mission Monarch in a nutshell. What it boils down to in terms of participating in the program, well, it's quite easy. So the core of Mission Monarch really boils down to 4 steps. And these 4 steps is essentially the data collection process that helps us, that will help us identify key reproduction spots for monarchs. So the 4 steps, the first one is to find milkweed, which I'm assuming most of you know quite well. The second step is to verify the presence of monarch. And then the third and fourth step are quite intuitive and self-explanatory. So the third step is to write down observations being made of milkweed and of monarchs. And then the fourth step is to share observations via our Mission Monarch website. So when you participate in Mission Monarch, this is what your participation will look like. You will submit your field observation form online on our online platform, and these information will then be submitted to our scientific community to help better understand and better protect the monarch as a threatened species. So since we just have 20 minutes together, now a little bit less than 20 minutes. I won't go through all of the nitty gritty. I'll just kind of give you an overview of the 2 first steps here, so finding milkweed and verifying for the presence of monarchs. And then we'll kind of end with a case study example of a farmer in the region, in the Outaouais region, that has been participating in Mission Monarch for 3 years now. But again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we're happy to take more time with any of you that like to receive the full training. So if we're looking at the first step here of the data collection process for milkweed and monarchs, the first step is to find milkweed. So there are hundreds of species of milkweed in North America. The ones that you see up on the screen are species of milkweed that are most commonly found in Canada. Depending on the region that you're in, you might find some of these and some might not occur in your region. So it's really depending, the distribution will depend on where you're located. In Quebec, there are 4 different types of milkweed, 2 that are very common. So of course, the common milkweed and the swamp milkweed, and 2 other more rare species in Quebec. So the butterfly milkweed and the poke milkweed. And any milkweed that you find, whether that be on your farm or in your municipality or wherever you are, we're interested for you to report them. So to report your milkweed, any milkweed that you see. And just a quick parenthesis here also to mention that even if you monitor a milkweed patch and don't come across any monarchs, we're as interested in knowing that information. So for us, a 0 is just as valuable as any other information. So don't be shy if you monitor a milkweed patch and don't find any monarchs. That information is just as interesting for us because it helps us determine what makes potentially a good reproductive habitat and then perhaps a less favorable reproductive habitat. So finding milkweed, it can be found, milkweed can be found across different environments, a wide range of environments. Can be found in fields, roads, along railways. I won't spend too much time on milkweed because I'm pretty sure most of you are very familiar with it. So it thrives in sunny and disturbed sites. So wherever you find milkweed, it's important to share your observations. And on the screen here, we just have the common images of common milkweed, but there are several other species of milkweed. So this kind of concludes the part 1 of the protocol, which is finding milkweed. And then I'll just spend a few minutes to explain the second step of the protocol, which is to verify for the presence of monarchs. And then we'll go into example of case studies. And I'll point you also to different resources. So you can, if you wish to be autonomous in this process, our website holds all of the information. So it's something that you can include in your activities if you wish to do so. Cool, Maria, if that's okay, I'll let you monitor the chat and just stop me if any questions pop up, or maybe we can keep them at the end, whatever.
Yeah, I can answer or keep them on the end. Yeah, no problem. I'll take care of that.
Okay, nice. Thanks so much. Perfect. Yeah, so we'll get to them later on. But thank you for keeping the chat alive. That's always fun. All right, so second step here is to verify for the presence of monarchs. So again, I won't go into too many details here just because of the time, but monarchs are insects that go through complete metamorphosis, which means that each life stage of the monarch will be morphologically distinct. So monarchs are very interesting in the fact that the caterpillar, the monarch caterpillar, is a specialist. So it will only feed on milkweed. It cannot feed on anything else. Its only food source is milkweed, which is why the milkweed is the monarch's host plant. Whereas the adult is a generalist. So the adult can thrive on different sources of nectar and not only milkweed nectar. So it does have a varied diet, which is opposite to the caterpillar, which can just eat monarch leaves, not monarch leaves, my God, sorry, milkweed. It can only feed on milkweed. So the two life stages that you will almost exclusively find on milkweed are the eggs and the caterpillar. So the female will only lay its eggs on milkweed. And as you know, the caterpillar will just eat milkweed. So these are the two life stages that you will almost exclusively find on milkweed. I say almost exclusively because there's always exception of a caterpillar that has, gone to or is seeking to find another plant of milkweed. So you might find it elsewhere, but almost always you'll find eggs and caterpillars on milkweed. Whereas the chrysalis and the adult you'll see fluttering around, and the chrysalis, normally they are formed a little bit further away from the milkweed patches. And Mission Monarch is interested in documenting all life stages. So you'll see if you download our field observation form that there is room for to tally all of your numbers for eggs, caterpillars, adult, and chrysalis. So that's a quick overview of the monarchs. And there's lots more information on our website if you want to kind of know the specifics of each life stage, how much time it takes for the egg before the caterpillar hatch out of the egg, or how much time the butterfly forms in the chrysalis. All of that information is made available on our website. So We've kept Mission Monarch very simple. As you see, it's four steps that can be done easily on the field. And this is really to get as many folks involved as possible in milkweed and monarch monitoring. So why should you get involved? Why is it interesting, perhaps for your farm or your organization to get involved? Participating in Mission Monarch essentially means joining an international movement to protect this endangered species. And it's really about taking action to contribute to conservation efforts. So it's really making a concrete steps. So we have more data to make better informed conservation decisions. And it can also become a flagship commitment, perhaps for your farm or for your organization to participate in monitoring activities. So it's interesting under that angle too, that it can become something that you can tell your, not your participants, but tell your, I only have the word in French, your abonnés, tell your farm enthusiasts that you're participating in. So something nice to share also. Now, in terms of how exactly to participate, well, we went through the protocol together, which are the 4 steps. So promoting the program and its mission is really a concrete way that you can help us get the word around Mission Monarch and help us in gathering more data across diverse landscapes. Another way for you to participate, if you're interested, is to include monarch and milkweed monitoring activities to your programming. So say that your farm has an agro-touristic offer. This might be, Mission Monarch might be an interesting addition to that programming. So an interesting activity to host at your farm. And I know that families love to do this together. So an interesting activity to add. And another way to participate, and I'll talk about this in just a second, is to take part in what we call the International Monarch Monitoring Blitz. And the Blitz is a very exciting event that happens every year. This year, it happens between July 29th to August 7th. So this is a moment in the year where thousands of volunteers across North America mobilize themselves to collect data on milkweed and monarchs. And this is really to get an idea of the monarchs population and their summer breeding range. So it's really neat to participate in this international blitz because you're joining your voice to thousands of other volunteers across North America. And an interesting thing also in participating specifically in these dates, so between July 29th and August 7th, is that it coincides with the moment where monarchs are most active at our latitude. So it's the time of the year where normally we can see all life stages. So we'll be able to see monarch eggs, caterpillars, chrysalis, and adults. So even so, more an interesting time to host an agro-touristic activity around monarch monitoring during that time. Yeah, it's nice to focus on a time where you have most chance to see the monarch and its different life stages. So how can Mission Monarch support you in embedding monarch and milkweed monitoring activities in your community on your farm? Well, we offer different resources. We have many online resources, which are all free. And these resources allow for autonomous participation. So you can download our field kit. And in that field kit, you'll have everything you need to participate in Mission Monarch. We also offer online support. So we can answer your monarch related questions or support you in your field observations. We also have a fantastic FAQ on our website if there's questions that come to mind. And another way that we support communities in taking part in monitoring activities is that we provide training. So today is kind of a very brief version, and just kind of to give you an idea and give you the tools and point you to the right resources to participate in Mission Monarch. But we can also, if you're interested, provide you with a virtual training. And these trainings are normally an hour, and we kind of go deeper into the monarch's biology. We talk about its life cycle, we talk about its migration, we talk about the different factors that put the monarch at risk, and we go a little bit deeper into how to participate and how to identify, for example, the eggs, the caterpillars, the chrysalis, and the adults. And if that's of interest, we also have some resources and provide training for teachers. So that's kind of all of the support and resources that we can offer. So on our website, I just want to point you also to our website, because there are several different tools that can come in handy. The field mission kit, as I was telling you about, will be found under the mission tab. Oh, let me just take out my little pointer here. So if you click here under the mission tab, you'll find you'll be able to download the entire mission kit, which will give you all the information you need to collect data on milkweed and monarchs. We also have information on the basic monarch biology and its habitat. If you click on the data tab, you'll have access to all of the data that has been submitted to Mission Monarch since its creation in 2016. So you can download the entire database and look at all of the observations points that have been submitted by folks across Canada. And then there's other information for teachers, and we have a little blog where we post information on monarch, milkweed, and fun things like that. I'm just going to remove my laser pointer here. And to come back to the mission field kit, this is an overview of what it looks like. So the first, you'll have a field sheet, and this field sheet here an identification sheet, and this will help you identify the different species of milkweed, give you tips and tricks as to how to identify milkweed. The identification sheet for monarchs will also walk you through the 4 different life stages of the monarch and how to identify those life stages. You'll also find a commonly confused sheet, so insects that do look like monarchs but are not monarchs, so very handy. And finally, the field observation form, which is really the core of Mission Monarch. That's where you'll want to report all your findings on milkweed and monarchs, and then that information can then be typed in our website on our platform. Great, so still have a few minutes, and I just want to present quickly to you this case study. So Maria mentioned in the introduction that we have come across each other. So Maria and I know each other through this farm called FERME HLF. They're in the Outaouais region, and they're just a great example of how you can participate in Mission Monarch autonomously. So FERME HLF has been participating since 2018. And so they found the information on our website and started inviting members of their community to participate in monarch and milkweed monitoring activities. So what's really neat here, as you can see on the image up on the screen, is on the left is the observations that were submitted in that same region before the HLF farm got got involved. And then the image on the right, so post 2018, is all of the observations that have been submitted since FERME HLF has been involved. So you can see that having an ambassador for monarchs like the FERME HLF really bolsters regional participation. So on the left-hand side, we had one observation here in the park, and then post 2018, we have lots more observation around Lac-Simon. So we can see the immediate, not the immediate, but the effect that it has on a community of having someone act as an ambassador for monarchs. And just to be clear, the HLF farm hadn't received training from us in 2018. So it was really an autonomous process, and they took up this project because they're very passionate about monarchs. And you can see kind of the ripple effect that it has in the community around Lac-Simon. So what exactly does FERME HLF do with Mission Monarch? So they host 2 monarch monitoring days during the International Monarch Monitoring Blitz. So they concentrate their activities during the International Monarch Monitoring Blitz, which is fantastic because that's the moment of the year where we want folks to be especially active. And it's the moment in the year where we'll have most chances of seeing all life stages of monarchs. What's really neat with FERME HLF is that they also integrated their monarch and milkweed monitoring activities into the municipality's regional activity calendar. So that really fosters local participation kind of beyond their usual network. So there's really this nice kind of springboard for participation in that region. And how does that translate into numbers? So the numbers of people outreached, an estimate for the 3 years that they've participated in Mission Monarch, it's about 150 folks that have taken part in these monitoring activities. And that means thousands of milkweed stems that were inspected for monarchs, and several hundreds of monarchs that were reported. So different life stages of monarchs that were reported. Yeah, so a very great and inspiring example of how becoming an ambassador for monarchs and for Mission Monarch in your region can really help create a ripple effect and help gather lots of data around milkweed and monarchs. So I see we're just a little bit over 12:30. I will pause here and take questions. I see that the chat has been very active. That's great. Maybe I can stop sharing my screen and we can see each other, and I'm happy to stay on to answer any questions.
Yeah, you can close. Yeah, and thank you everybody. If you open your cameras if you like to, and also those that are farmers that can raise your hands either manually or in the chat, just to know. I know there's other participants that I don't really know. Thank you, Agathe, for your presentation, and thank you everyone who took the time to come here. And and just to mention is you can either participate by giving your own data if you're interested, or by doing an event at your farm like Carl did, and that gives lots of visibility to your farm, and it can be very interesting for citizens that are more and more interested about species and monarchs, and can be a nice family activity. So I've been answering questions in the chat. Dave, I know it's you and not Stephanie. So hello, Dave. I know Dave's a farmer. Anyone else is a farmer? I know Jess, Andrea, Gemma, and the other ones. I don't know you. Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So if we have multiple people visiting our farm, observing the same milkweed and eggs, whatever, is that does that skew your data?
No, not at all. I mean, as long as you're not double counting the same day, like as not as you're double counting the same milkweed, let's say twice in the same day, then that's fine. We're actually interested, for example, FERME, they monitor a patch on their farm every year. So I'd say as long as you're making sure that if you have multiple participants, they each have kind of an area to sample and they're not double counting the same area, that's fine.
Okay, so it has to be organized. They can't just be flowing through the fields.
Yeah, exactly. I'd kind of, my tip would be kind of to disperse them. So to say, okay, this person you can monitor, this section of the field, and then this person you can monitor this section of the field. So to have them kind of break up in smaller groups, just to make sure that you're not, double or triple counting.
What you can do if you don't want to, go around people and really organize them too much, you can just give them some little flags, so when they have counted them, you tell them just to indicate this was counted and, just a Sharpie with a date or something like that. I mean, there's so many ways to do it and it can be kept very simple. You can download the guides and the forms from the internet site and try to make it, fit your own needs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that answer your question, Jessica?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So Gemma really wanted to do this kind of activity. So are you still interested in that now that you know what it looks like?
Yes, definitely. No, thank you very much, Agathe and Maria. We're definitely still interested. We're going to create a nice little community event around Monarch this time at the end of July, beginning of August. So we'll be super happy. Yes, definitely. So if any of you guys want to come and visit us during that time, it would be amazing to have you guys too.
Thanks so much, Gemma. Yeah, we'd love to. We're unfortunately two to cover Canada, so it's lots to do. But if we'd definitely love to come visit. It's always fun to see people in real and not in front of screens and be out in the field. It's something that me and my colleague we love doing. So thanks for the invitation.
Are there any other farmers in the other off cameras? Can you just write in the chat maybe if you're a farmer, just for me to know? I know it's in the questionnaire maybe, but no.
And sorry if I may, Maria, just quickly here, I see Emmy that said that they're not a farmer but planted milkweed. That's great. I mean, anyone can participate in Mission Monarch from any, all walks of life. As long as you find a milkweed patch, then you can participate. So it can be an individual participation. You can make it into an event where you rally people from your community or from around your farm or your organization. So it can take, different shapes and form, but really the essence of it is to find a milkweed patch and then report your observations.
I have another question. As a farmer, I mean, financially, this seems, for us, it makes sense because of we do agritourism anyway, but to expand your mission, I know there's farmers that is there funding to leave edges for milkweed or to incentivize farmers to protect areas?
Yeah, that's perhaps more, I don't know if Maria, I know that you're working on something.
That's that's what we want to do at Gemma's farm as an example, is just that Alice, we don't pay for just keeping marginal land and leave it as is, because if we start just paying for all agricultural land that's not cultivated, I just don't have the money for that yet. We never know how politics are going to change, but we pay more for when you create projects like the windbreaks you did at your farm and riparian buffers that are more, larger than the regulation, which is only 3 meters for a riparian buffer. When you do more, and we can, manage it so the milkweed grows a bit more. Like we have some prairies that the farmers, they at the end of the year, they really like take the milkweed seeds, and they make sure there's more to try to increase it on their land in some parts. So it's just in the way you manage it. Like if there's some management to it, because what we pay for Alice is for, establishing the project and maintaining it. So if it's just living in as is, we cannot do that. So we're trying to, find a way to, what's the way to increase these habitats in places where there's none. And I know, for farms where you have big crops, it can be complicated because it's also an invasive species for crops. Whereas, let's say at Carl's farm, the example before, it's in the places where he do some rests, for his soils, and he has like cover crops, and the milkweed just invades it. So it's again, for the soil, for the rest of the soil, and then it's again for the Monarch, and he does this activity for monitoring and stuff like that. So that's his Monarch project on his farm, and he's also doing like windbreaks and riparian buffers. So maybe there's something we could. I'll go see you anyways next week. So maybe we can try to find a spot for Monarch management and have some support for Alice.
I'm not really asking for myself.
No, but I think
it's
something that's more and more in discussion in farm in general, because farmers are not just asked to produce food anymore, but also to protect the environment, and it's that's another job, and so that's why in Alice we work a lot about influencing the understanding of farmer and how these ecosystem services have a value and have time for the farmer, land that the farmer gives to nature and stuff like that. So it's really like paying for ecosystem services has been studied for like 30 years now, but it's starting to be put in place like more recently. And yeah, we're hoping it's going to increase with all these environmental practices and climate change.
There could be some citizen funding to help. Anyway, there's lots.
Yeah, sometimes it can be at the municipal level, at the provincial level, at the some foundations. Like there's also like in United States they have the Monarch joint venture or something like that, but I'm not sure they pay farmers really. But yeah, there's different programs that are being creating, and with Alice we're really trying to work on how to develop something for that too.
Yeah, I think that's great. And Mission Monarch, we don't work specifically, we don't work on habitat creation. We're really on the monitoring of those patches and monitoring of Monarch and milkweed. So we don't have those resources for habitat creation, but it's definitely a need. It's definitely something that is needed, and definitely something that will be great to have for farmers and for the agricultural region.
So any other questions? This baby is gonna know a lot of things, and he's also always in the webinars. So thank you everyone for being here today. I think we're going to close this, and whoops, I should have stopped the recording much time before, but